I'm Lelia Kelly, and welcome to Gardening Through the Seasons. It's December here at Mississippi State, and some people might think that the winter landscape can look bleak without the abundance of flowers and foliage that we have during the spring and summer. But guess what? There's plenty of deciduous trees and shrubs that can command interest even in the winter landscape without their foliage. And I have here with me Rob Rice, campus horticulturist, who's going to tell us how.
That's right, Leah. Many of our plants can be interesting in the winter landscape by bearing colorful and interesting fruit, or featuring dramatic bark like on these river birch behind me, or even striking dramatic architectural forms against a seasonal backdrop.
How about we take a look at some of these plants, Rob?
Sure. Why don't we start with some plants that can have interesting fruit. One plant that really puts on a show after its leaves drop is the native deciduous holly or possum haw. Light gray limbs are covered with bright red berries, which make this plant a standout in the winter landscape. Our native sweet gum tree can be laden with sweet gum balls, which can litter the landscape to the frustration of some homeowners. Others appreciate the interest these plants contribute to the winter landscape. The Indian currant coralberry is a native suckering shrub with magenta-colored clusters of fruit that persist almost until spring. The Parnea cotoneaster, though an evergreen, becomes most noticeable during the winter months when it is laden with big clusters of red fruit. There are many cultivars of crabapple which have very attractive fruit that persist well into winter, providing food for different wildlife from deer to birds.
Have you ever selected a tree or shrub based on its attractive bark? Probably not. But you know what? These plants can really have year-round appeal, in particular in the wintertime like now, when they don't have their foliage and the attractive bark and structure take center stage.
Crepe myrtles can exhibit a variety of bark colors and textures, both of which become more pronounced as a tree matures.
The Japanese crepe myrtle has some of the most attractive bark of any of the crepe myrtle species. The Sango Kaku Japanese maple has distinctive coral-colored bark that is outstanding. The Chinese or lacebark elms have very striking bark that takes center stage in the winter. Everyone has noticed the winter appearance of the native sycamore. With its ghostly white bark, it shines in the winter landscape. The oak leaf hydrangea can be attractive even in the winter with its dried flower heads and tan, peeling bark.
Now let's look at some plants with some interesting winter structure. Without leaves on them, this is really the first thing you see in the wintertime. For example, look at these weeping cherries. Without the foliage, the weeping effect of these plants is what you see. We also use some other weeping forms of plants here at Mississippi State. The weeping willow is a common choice home shade tree, particularly at home and around water. Home gardeners typically use the weeping mulberry as a focal point to show off its weeping form. Our native ball cypress has distinctive branching structure that becomes visible during the winter. Another tree that shares the same branching structure, although with a little tighter outline, is the dawn redwood.
Perhaps the strangest branching structure of any plant on campus is the Harry Lauder's walking stick, a cultivar of the European filbert. And you can see without its leaves, it really makes a statement in the winter landscape and definitely is the center of attention. So as you stroll through the landscape in the winter, remember there are plenty of choices of deciduous trees and shrubs that can add interest and attractiveness to the winter landscape. I'm Lelia Kelly.
And I'm Rob Rice.
And this is Gardening Through the Seasons.